Imagine a future where electric vehicles are affordable, charge quickly, and keep going even in freezing cold without depending on expensive or hard-to-source materials. Sounds like science fiction, right? Well, not anymore. Because right now, something big is happening in the world of EVs, and it has everything to do with sodium. Yeah, sodium. That stuff in salt. Sodium-ion batteries are starting to look like the game-changing technology the electric car industry has been waiting for. And what's even more exciting? This isn't just a tech demo or some theoretical breakthrough locked away in a lab. These batteries are already rolling out in real cars, hitting the roads in China, and starting to gain attention in the US as a real alternative to traditional lithium-ion systems. So in this video, we're diving deep into the sodium-ion revolution. We're going to talk about why this new battery tech matters, how it works, and, most importantly, what it means for the future of electric vehicles in the US, especially with big names like Tesla on the horizon. Why sodium? First, let's talk about the big question. Why sodium? Isn't lithium working just fine? Well, yes and no. Lithium-ion batteries have powered the EV boom for over a decade now. They're energy-dense, lightweight, and relatively efficient. But they come with a whole list of problems. The biggest? Supply and cost. Lithium is expensive. Cobalt and nickel, two other key materials, are often mined under harsh, unsustainable conditions. And as more and more people want electric cars, the price of these resources keeps climbing. That's where sodium steps in. Sodium is everywhere, literally. It's the sixth most abundant element on Earth. It's in seawater, it's in the ground, and compared to lithium, it's dirt cheap. That alone makes sodium-ion batteries a serious contender for mass adoption, especially in budget EVs where cost is everything. But it's not just about price. Sodium-ion batteries are safer too. They're more stable under high temperatures and less likely to catch fire or explode, a big deal when you're dealing with fast-charging, high-power vehicles. The first real-world sodium cars are already here. Now here's where things really get exciting. This isn't just some idea floating around in research papers. Chinese automaker Jack, working closely with battery giant Hina Battery, has already released the world's first mass-produced EV powered by sodium-ion tech. The car? A compact little model called the Seahole E10X. At first glance, it looks like your typical city EV, but under the hood, it's a whole different beast. The Seahole E10X's sodium-ion battery offers a range of about 157 miles on a single charge. Not mind-blowing, but solid for an urban commuter. But the real star of the show is its charging time. This thing can recharge from 10% to 80% in just 20 minutes. That's faster than most lithium-powered cars in its class. And while 157 miles might not sound like a Tesla killer just yet, it's a huge deal when you realize this tech is still in its early days. The fact that it's already commercially viable and that people are actually driving it around proves that sodium-ion is ready to come. Who's leading the sodium charge? Right now, most of the major innovation around sodium-ion is happening in China. No surprise there. Chinese companies like CATL, Hina Battery, and Ferasis Energy are investing heavily in this space. In fact, CATL, the world's largest EV battery maker, has already launched its own sodium-ion battery cells and expects full-scale production soon. But this isn't going to stay in China for long. The US is watching closely, and US-based startups and universities are beginning to enter the race. Companies like Natron Energy in California are pushing the boundaries of sodium-ion technology with a strong focus on safety, scalability, and affordability. The Department of Energy is also funding research into non-lithium alternatives, especially given recent supply chain challenges and geopolitical tensions around lithium and cobalt exports. With the Inflation Reduction Act pushing clean energy and US-made EVs, sodium-ion fits into the bigger picture of energy independence. Tesla and the $25,000 EV question. Here's the part that could change everything. Tesla. Rumors have been swirling for a while now that Tesla is exploring sodium-ion batteries, especially for its long-awaited $25,000 electric car. And it makes perfect sense. A cheaper EV needs cheaper components. And while Tesla currently uses lithium iron phosphate batteries in some of its vehicles, which are already less expensive than nickel-based cells, sodium could take things a step further. LPF batteries are great, but sodium-ion promises to be even more cost-effective, especially if you're trying to mass-produce an ultra-affordable vehicle for the global market. Now, Elon Musk hasn't officially confirmed sodium-ion adoption yet, but Tesla has a habit of moving fast when new tech is ready, and if sodium proves itself in more real-world applications over the next year or two, it's not hard to imagine a Tesla with a sodium battery hitting US roads before the decade's end. The cold weather advantage. Here's another benefit that doesn't get talked about enough: performance in cold weather. Anyone living in a cold state like Minnesota, Michigan, or up in New England knows the pain of reduced battery range in winter. Lithium-ion batteries tend to slow down and lose efficiency when temperatures drop, but sodium-ion batteries, they actually perform better than lithium in low temperatures. In other words, a sodium-powered EV might be the perfect solution for drivers in colder climates who need reliable range and fast charging no matter the weather. Coming up next. That's just the beginning. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into the technology behind sodium-ion batteries, how they work, what makes them different from lithium-ion on a molecular level, and why their chemistry gives them key advantages in safety, sustainability, and scalability. Plus, we'll explore how this shift could affect global markets, create new American jobs, and possibly give the US a shot at leading the next big wave of battery innovation. Stay tuned. So now that we've seen how sodium-ion batteries are hitting the road and shaking up the EV world, let's take a step back and really understand what makes this technology different and potentially better than what we've been using for years. Because behind all the buzzwords and headlines, the real magic is happening at the microscopic level. This is where science meets engineering, and where a small shift in chemistry could create a massive ripple across the auto industry, the energy grid, and even national policy. Sodium versus lithium, same family, different results. On the periodic table, sodium, Na, and lithium, Li, sit right next to each other. That's not just a coincidence. They're both part of the alkali metal family, meaning they share a lot of chemical similarities. Both are highly reactive. Both carry a single positive charge, Na+ or Li+, and both can be used to move electric current inside a battery. But there are key differences. First off, sodium atoms are bigger and heavier than lithium. That means sodium-ion batteries naturally carry a bit more weight for the same amount of energy stored. That sounds like a downside, and for some high-performance applications, it is. But here's where sodium makes up ground: its abundance, cost, and safety profile. Unlike lithium, which has to be extracted from hard-to-reach mines or brine pools in places like Chile, Argentina, or Australia, sodium is found practically everywhere. Seawater alone holds a virtually unlimited supply. And that changes everything, especially when it comes to scaling production fast. Anatomy of a sodium-ion battery. Let's break down how these batteries actually work. Just like lithium-ion batteries, sodium-ion batteries have three main parts: anode, negative electrode; cathode, positive electrode; and electrolyte, the liquid or gel the ions flow through. During charging, sodium ions move from the cathode to the anode, where they get stored. During discharge, like when you're driving your EV, the ions flow back from the anode to the cathode, generating electric current along the way. The trick lies in the materials used to build those electrodes. For example, instead of the graphite anodes used in many lithium batteries, sodium-ion batteries often use hard carbon or other specialized materials that better accommodate sodium's larger atomic size. On the cathode side, Materials like sodium manganese oxide or Prussian white are gaining popularity due to their low cost and high performance. And unlike lithium-ion, which often relies on expensive metals like cobalt and nickel, sodium-ion batteries avoid these altogether. That makes them not just cheaper, but also more ethical and environmentally sustainable. Lithium-ion versus sodium-ion, the race between two battery technologies. 1. Energy density. Lithium-ion batteries have high energy density, meaning they can store a large amount of energy in a compact size. This makes them ideal for devices like smartphones, laptops, and electric vehicles that need long range or high performance. On the other hand, sodium-ion batteries offer moderate energy density. While still usable for many applications, they generally require larger or heavier battery packs to achieve similar output. 2. Cost. Lithium-ion batteries are expensive to produce, primarily due to the high cost of lithium and other rare metals like cobalt or nickel. In contrast, sodium-ion batteries use sodium, a much cheaper and more abundant element, making production costs significantly lower. This makes them well-suited for large-scale energy storage systems and low-cost electric vehicles. 3. Safety. Lithium-ion batteries offer moderate safety. They can overheat or catch fire if damaged or improperly charged. Sodium-ion batteries are generally safer thanks to more stable chemistry that reduces the risk of thermal runaway or combustion, even under stress or extreme conditions. Temperature tolerance. Lithium-ion batteries tend to perform poorly in extreme temperatures, especially in very cold environments where their efficiency drops noticeably. Sodium-ion batteries, however, offer excellent performance in cold climates, making them a great choice for regions with harsh winters. Charging speed. Both types of batteries can charge quickly, but lithium-ion batteries require specific setups and equipment to reach optimal charging speeds. Sodium-ion batteries provide comparable fast charging capabilities, helping to reduce downtime and improve user convenience. Resource availability. Lithium is a limited resource, often concentrated in specific parts of the world and difficult to mine. This leads to higher costs and increased reliance on unstable supply chains. Sodium, on the other hand, is abundantly available, easily extracted from salt or common minerals, ensuring a more secure and scalable supply. Environmental impact. Lithium mining can have a significant environmental impact, including water depletion, ecosystem disruption, and pollution. Sodium-ion batteries have a lower environmental footprint, as they don't require rare metals and rely on more sustainable and eco-friendly materials and processes. In short, lithium still wins when it comes to energy density, meaning how far you can go per charge. That's why lithium-ion batteries will likely remain the go-to for long-range EVs and high-performance vehicles for a while. But sodium-ion shines in areas where cost, safety, and temperature stability matter most. This makes it perfect for city cars, delivery vans, and budget EVs, exactly the segment the US needs to electrify fast if it wants to hit climate and infrastructure goals. A safer, cooler battery. We can't stress this enough. Safety is a big win for sodium-ion. One of the ongoing concerns with lithium-ion batteries is thermal runaway, a chain reaction where heat builds up inside the cell, potentially causing fires or explosions. That's why EV makers invest heavily in battery cooling systems, thermal management, and software to keep things in check. But sodium-ion batteries are much more thermally stable. Even under stress, they don't tend to catch fire or overheat the same way. That could drastically reduce costs on safety systems while making EVs more trustworthy for everyday consumers, especially families or seniors who might be nervous about battery fires. Speeding up US manufacturing. Now, let's bring it back to the big picture. What would it take for sodium-ion batteries to really take off in the US? The truth is, we already have a head start. Several American companies are building sodium-ion supply chains right now. One standout is Natron Energy, based in Silicon Valley. They've developed a unique sodium-ion battery using Prussian blue chemistry, yes, like the old paint pigment, that offers fast charging, high safety, and long life. And unlike lithium-ion batteries, which often rely on sourcing materials from overseas, sodium-ion components can be sourced and processed domestically. That's huge for US energy independence. In fact,
With the Inflation Reduction Act offering massive tax incentives for locally made clean tech, sodium-ion batteries could quickly become the poster child for American-made EVs. Imagine this, a US-built EV with US-built batteries powered by US-sourced materials. That's not just patriotic, it's strategic. It strengthens supply chains, creates jobs, and lowers costs for consumers. Real-world use cases beyond cars. But EVs are just the beginning. Sodium-ion batteries are also ideal for grid storage, home backup power, and even industrial energy systems. Their low cost and long cycle life make them perfect for solar energy storage, especially in areas prone to blackouts or extreme weather. For example, a rural community with lots of sunshine but limited infrastructure could install a solar plus sodium battery system and become nearly energy independent. That's not just a cool idea, it's a real solution to climate resilience. And in commercial settings, sodium-ion systems could replace diesel generators or supplement the grid during peak hours, slashing both costs and carbon emissions. What's next? So far, sodium-ion batteries have proven they're more than hype. The chemistry works, the prototypes are real, and the first wave of vehicles is already driving around. But if this technology is going to scale, there are still questions to answer. How fast can we build factories? Can we improve energy density enough for longer-range models? And most importantly, will American consumers trust and adopt a new kind of battery? In the next part, we'll explore these challenges head-on. We'll talk about the hurdles to mass adoption, what it will take to bring sodium-ion to the mainstream, and how big players like Tesla, Ford, and GM are watching this space very closely. The next battery revolution isn't coming someday. It's already underway.
So far, sodium-ion batteries look promising. Cheaper, safer, made from materials that aren't chained to foreign supply lines. But here's the real question. Can they scale? Because when you're trying to electrify not just a few 100,000 vehicles, but tens of millions, promising isn't enough. You need production, infrastructure, and momentum. Let's break down the hurdles, the breakthroughs, and how close we really are to seeing sodium-ion go from underdog to industry standard. Number 1, the energy density hurdle. We touched on this before, but it's worth diving deeper. Energy density, how much energy a battery can hold for its weight, is the biggest reason lithium still dominates. Right now, most commercial lithium-ion batteries offer somewhere between 180 to 250 watt-hours per kilogram. By comparison, first-generation sodium-ion batteries typically hit 100 to 160 watt-hours per kilogram. That's a gap. It means an EV with sodium-ion batteries might get 150 miles per charge instead of 250 or 300. And for many US consumers, that range anxiety is real. But here's the twist. Not everyone needs 300 miles of range. Think about the daily commute in most cities. It's under 40 miles. Delivery vehicles, often driving set routes under 100 miles a day. For these kinds of use cases, sodium-ion is already good enough and way cheaper. And researchers aren't standing still. Companies like Faradion and Haina Battery have prototypes pushing sodium-ion energy density close to 200 watt-hours per kilogram. The technology is evolving fast. So while sodium-ion might not power your long-distance road trip yet, it's already viable for the kind of real-world driving most people do every day. Number 2, manufacturing transition. Can we build it? One huge advantage of sodium-ion tech is that it can often use existing lithium-ion battery factories and processes. Same cylindrical cell shapes, same coating, drying, assembling lines. That means companies don't have to start from scratch. They can retrofit. For example, CATL, the world's largest EV battery maker and Tesla's key supplier, has already committed to mass-producing sodium-ion batteries on the same lines as lithium-ion, blending them into hybrid packs. Why does that matter? Because it means the ramp-up timeline is months, not years. If an automaker decides to pivot, it doesn't need a $5 billion investment and a 3-year build-out. The groundwork is already laid.
In fact, sources from China say CATL plans to scale sodium-ion to 60 gigawatt-hours of production by 2026. That's enough to power over 1 million EVs per year. Number 3. Tesla's watchful eye. All right, let's talk about the big one, Tesla. Elon Musk hasn't officially announced any sodium-ion moves yet, but he's been hinting at it. During multiple investor calls, he's emphasized the importance of using iron-based batteries for standard range and freeing up lithium for long-range or performance vehicles. That strategy opens the door wide open for sodium-ion. And we know Tesla is working with CATL, who just unveiled their second-generation sodium-ion battery, which boasts 200 watt-hours per kilogram energy density, faster charging, and high performance even at -20 degrees C, -4 degrees Fahrenheit, making it ideal for colder US states. This is perfect for Tesla's rumored $25,000 compact EV, set to target budget-conscious buyers and urban commuters. Pairing that with a sodium-ion battery could lower the car's base price by several $1,000s. Think about the impact. A Tesla Model 2, built in the US, with a sodium-ion battery pack that charges fast, performs in snow, and costs less. That's not just a win for Tesla, that's a game changer for the entire auto market. Number 5. Supply chain freedom equals energy independence. Here's where things get geopolitical. Right now, most lithium refining happens in China. Even if the lithium is mined in the US or Australia, it usually gets shipped across the ocean to be processed. That's a massive vulnerability. But sodium, it's not just abundant, it's democratic. The US has sodium reserves. The US has infrastructure to process it. And the materials used in sodium-ion cathodes and anodes, like iron, manganese, or hard carbon, are not rare or politically sensitive. That means less dependence on foreign mining, lower transportation emissions, and more American jobs and more secure clean tech. With the US government pouring billions into the Inflation Reduction Act and DOE Battery Materials Initiative, sodium-ion projects are perfectly positioned to benefit, especially those that emphasize local production. Number 6. Use cases beyond cars. Think bigger. While EVs grab all the headlines, the real volume play for sodium-ion might be grid storage. Here's why. Energy density matters less in stationary storage. You're not driving it around, you're plugging it into the grid. Safety and lifespan matter more, especially for systems that sit in a community or next to a power plant for 10+ years. And sodium's lower cost per cycle makes it ideal for utilities trying to shift away from natural gas peaker plants. Imagine this. Instead of burning fossil fuels during high-demand hours, your city taps into sodium-ion batteries charged by solar panels during the day. Quiet, clean, cheap. In fact, Natron Energy has already started shipping sodium-ion battery systems for data centers and telecom towers, offering fast discharge, long cycle life, and zero fire risk. This is a silent revolution, but it's coming fast. Number 7. Obstacles still ahead. Of course, this isn't a fairy tale. Sodium-ion has hurdles. Standardization. There's no global sodium-ion cell format. Everyone's experimenting. Raw materials supply chains. Yes, sodium is everywhere, but specialized battery-grade materials still need refining. Consumer awareness. Ask the average driver what a sodium-ion battery is, and they'll probably shrug. That last one is critical, because no matter how good the tech is, if people don't trust it or understand it, they won't buy it. That's where companies like Tesla and channels like Electric Mind come in, educating consumers, building confidence, and reshaping how people think about what's powering their future. Next up, the race to the $25,000 EV. So what happens when sodium-ion batteries hit their stride? In the next part, we'll explore how sodium-ion is the missing piece in the race to build the $25,000 electric vehicle, a car that could finally make EVs affordable for the majority of Americans. We'll break down pricing models, supply chain advantages, and how automakers are fighting to be first to market with the next big thing. Because make no mistake, the battery war is on, and sodium is about to punch above its weight.
Let's rewind the clock for a second. Back in 2018, Elon Musk stood on stage and made a bold prediction.
Tesla would one day produce an affordable electric car for around $25,000. The crowd roared, the media went wild, and for many, it felt like the final step in making EVs mainstream. Fast forward to today, and we're still waiting. Why? Because getting to that price point isn't just about manufacturing efficiency. It's about batteries. They're the single most expensive part of an electric vehicle, often accounting for 30 to 40% of the total cost. If you want a $25,000 EV, you can't just squeeze the margins. You need to rethink the battery from the ground up. And that's exactly where sodium-ion comes in. 1. Cost breakdown. Why lithium hits a wall. Right now, the average EV battery pack costs $130 to $150 per kilowatt hour. That's already a big drop from a decade ago when it was over $1,000 per kilowatt hour. But to hit that $25K price tag without sacrificing range or safety, battery packs need to get closer to $60 to $80 per kilowatt hour. That's tough to do with lithium. Why? Because lithium prices are volatile. Just in the past couple of years, we've seen 300% price swings in lithium carbonate. Add to that the rising costs of cobalt and nickel, plus the geopolitical risks, and lithium-ion suddenly looks fragile. Sodium-ion are a reset button. Their materials are cheap, stable, widely available. You're not bidding against dozens of countries for a limited supply. And that leads to something crucial: predictable pricing, which is exactly what mass-market EV production needs. CATL has hinted that its sodium-ion packs could reach $40 to $60 per kilowatt-hour within a few years, and that's before mass production fully kicks in. That's not just competitive, that's disruptive. 2. Real-world math. Tesla's compact car plus sodium. Let's run the numbers. If Tesla wants to sell a compact EV for $25,000 and still make a healthy profit, here's what they need: a battery pack that costs under $5,000, a vehicle that delivers at least 200 miles of range, and a supply chain that's resilient and US-friendly. A 40 kilowatt-hour sodium-ion battery at $60 per kilowatt-hour equals $2,400. That's less than half the current lithium-ion cost. That's game-changing. Now pair that with a smaller form factor, cheaper LFP-based motors, and streamlined gigapress assembly, and suddenly the economics work. Tesla doesn't even need to fully replace lithium. They can reserve lithium packs for premium models and push sodium into their entry-level line, like the rumored Model 2. That one move could cut base pricing by $5,000 or more, open EV ownership to millions more buyers, and give Tesla a major edge in the under $30K market, where competition is about to explode. 3. BYD, GM, and the global race to affordable EVs. Now let's zoom out. Tesla is not the only one in this race. China's BYD, already outselling Tesla in some markets, has plans to roll out sodium-ion vehicles this year under its Seagull brand. Price tag? Around $10,000 to $12,000 in China. Even after import and conversion costs, that's significantly cheaper than most entry-level US EVs. Then there's GM. The company recently announced plans for a next-gen platform that could support sodium-ion chemistry, especially in its Equinox EV, which is targeting a $30,000 price point. And startups like VinFast, NIO, and even Ford-backed companies are exploring sodium as a shortcut to profitability in emerging markets. This is no longer a science project, it's an arms race. Whoever builds the first widely available, high-quality 25K EV wins the mass market. Full stop. And sodium-ion could be the secret weapon. 4. Why American production matters. We've talked about battery chemistry. We've talked about pricing. Now let's talk politics. The US government, through bills like the Inflation Reduction Act, is pouring billions into domestic battery production. But to qualify for full consumer tax credits, automakers need to use materials sourced or processed in the US or allied nations, and manufacture the vehicles domestically. That's a problem for lithium, which is still largely refined in China. But sodium? The US has vast sodium reserves, especially sodium carbonate, also known as soda ash. It has access to manganese, iron, and aluminum, and growing investments in battery-grade hard carbon manufacturing. This gives sodium-ion a geopolitical edge. US-made sodium batteries equals full IRA tax credit, equals up to $7,500 off for buyers, equals lower sticker price, equals more sales. Everyone wins, except maybe the lithium supply chain. 5. Beyond cars, the ecosystem opportunity. Here's the part no one is really talking about yet. The 25K EV doesn't live in isolation. It needs affordable home chargers, backup battery storage, solar plus battery microgrids in neighborhoods. Sodium-ion is a perfect fit for these two. Instead of pairing your EV with a $10,000 lithium Powerwall, what if it came bundled with a $3,000 sodium-based backup battery? What if utilities offered rebates for sodium storage that could soak up excess solar during the day and feed it back at night? This isn't a fantasy. Companies like Natron Energy, Faraday, and Ambri are already working with utilities and home builders on sodium-based residential storage systems. That ecosystem effect could push sodium-ion from niche to norm, not just in vehicles, but in the entire energy economy. 6. What could go wrong and what must go right? Let's stay grounded. For this sodium-powered future to become reality, a few things need to happen. Scaling production quickly without compromising quality, creating unified standards so cells can be swapped between suppliers, and building trust with consumers who've never heard of sodium-ion and fear anything new. But the payoff? It's huge. If just 20% of new EVs use sodium-ion by 2030, that's tens of millions of cars, billions in supply chain savings, and a huge step towards energy independence. And remember, lithium demand isn't going away. But sodium can take the pressure off, freeing up lithium for planes, semis, and luxury EVs, while sodium powers the everyday vehicles for the average American.
You've heard the hype. Sodium-ion batteries are the next big thing. They're cheaper, safer, and made with materials we have here at home. But let's pause for a second. Before we crown a new king, let's lay it all out, side by side. Because while sodium has some serious advantages, lithium's not going down without a fight. This is the showdown that could shape the future of electric vehicles, grid storage, and energy independence for the next 50 years. So let's get into it. 1. Energy density, the raw power inside. Let's start with what most people care about first. How much energy can the battery hold? Lithium-ion, LFP, approximately 160 to 180 watt-hours per kilogram. Sodium-ion, current tech, approximately 120 to 160 watt-hours per kilogram. At first glance, lithium still wins. And it's true, lithium-ion offers more energy per pound. That means smaller, lighter batteries for the same range. But sodium is catching up. CATL's second-gen sodium-ion already hits 160 watt-hours per kilogram, putting it right at the edge of LFP performance. And for small city cars, scooters, or stationary storage, that difference barely matters. The verdict? Lithium still leads, for now, in energy density, but sodium is quickly closing in. 2. Performance in cold weather. Here's where sodium gets its first big win. One of lithium-ion's biggest weaknesses is cold weather. When temperatures drop below freezing, lithium batteries struggle. They lose range, charging slows down, and in extreme cold, they might not work at all. Sodium-ion? Completely different story. Thanks to the way sodium ions behave, these batteries retain more capacity in sub-zero temps, charge more reliably in cold climates, and avoid the thermal management headaches that plague lithium systems. CATL claims their sodium-ion cells retain 90% of capacity at minus 20 degrees Celsius, minus 4 degrees Fahrenheit. That's huge for places like Minnesota, Michigan, and northern Canada, where EV adoption has lagged behind. So when it comes to winter performance, sodium wins, hands down. 3. Charging speed. How fast can you go? Another key factor is how quickly you can top off the battery. Lithium NMC can charge fast, sometimes from 10% to 80% in under 20 minutes with proper cooling. LFP lithium is slower, often taking 30 to 40 minutes for the same charge. Sodium-ion, current gen, sits between the two. CATL says its sodium-ion batteries can reach 80% in 15 minutes. That's impressive, especially since they generate less heat and don't need complex cooling systems. But here's the catch. That performance varies between brands, and sodium-ion tech is still maturing. Still, for most drivers, especially urban commuters, sodium's charging speed is more than fast enough. Verdict? Sodium is catching up and may even surpass lithium LFP soon in this category. 4. Safety. Which battery can you trust more? When it comes to batteries, safety isn't optional, it's everything. We've all seen the headlines. EV fires after crashes, lithium batteries exploding from overcharging or punctures, airplanes grounded due to lithium-ion overheating. This is where sodium shines. Sodium-ion cells are far less flammable than lithium-ion, have lower thermal runaway risk, and operate safely without heavy-duty cooling. In fact, some sodium chemistries don't even require liquid electrolytes, which are one of the most flammable parts of lithium batteries. That's a major win, especially for public transportation, school buses, and home energy storage systems where safety is paramount. Winner? Sodium, without a doubt. 5. Cycle life. How long do these batteries last? A battery's cycle life tells us how many full charge-discharge cycles it can handle before degrading. Lithium LFP, approximately 2,500 to 3,000 cycles. Sodium-ion, 2,000 to 4,000 cycles, depending on chemistry. In real-world terms, that's 10 to 15 years of regular use for both. But here's the twist. Sodium degrades more slowly under high-stress conditions like fast charging or deep discharging. That makes sodium a solid option for fleet vehicles, delivery vans, and grid-scale energy storage. Verdict? Call it a tie, but sodium is looking like the long-term workhorse in tough environments. 6. Environmental and ethical impact. Let's talk sustainability. Lithium mining, especially in South America, uses vast amounts of water. It affects local ecosystems and often comes with serious human rights concerns. Cobalt, which is used in many lithium-ion batteries, is even worse. It's often mined under dangerous, exploitative conditions. Sodium, none of that. Extracted from abundant sources like seawater or soda ash. No cobalt, no rare earth metals, easier to recycle and less toxic overall. In terms of ethical sourcing and environmental impact, sodium is the clear winner. 7. Availability and scalability. Right now, lithium dominates because the infrastructure is already built, but scaling lithium further is getting harder, especially with geopolitical bottlenecks. Sodium, on the other hand, is easier to scale. Abundant materials, simpler supply chains, and can be produced in regions with little to no lithium access. Companies like Hainan Battery, CATL, Faradion, and Natron Energy are building sodium-ion gigafactories in China, India, Europe, and even the US. And once those factories are running, sodium-ion batteries could flood the low-cost EV and storage markets. 8. Applications, where each battery wins. Let's simplify. Lithium-ion, NMC, LFP. Best for high-end EVs, long-range sedans, SUVs, and trucks. Performance-critical devices. Sodium-ion, budget EVs, bikes, scooters, grid storage, solar backup systems, and cold climate vehicles. It's not either or, it's both, deployed where they make the most sense. Think of it like this. Lithium is your sports car. Sodium is your pickup truck, tough, affordable, and built for work. Closing thoughts, the new battery balance. The battery landscape is changing fast. For over a decade, lithium has been the gold standard, and it's not going away. But sodium is coming up behind it, not to replace lithium, but to share the load. That means more options, lower costs, a safer, more resilient energy ecosystem, and for drivers, that means EVs that are cheaper, more reliable, and finally within reach. Sodium-ion isn't the future. It's the missing piece we've been waiting for.
We've seen the science, we've seen the specs. Sodium-ion batteries are here. And they're not just a cool lab experiment anymore. They're a serious player on the global energy stage. But the real question is, where does America stand in this new energy race? Because this isn't just about tech. It's about strategy, about resilience, and about keeping America in the driver's seat as the world moves beyond fossil fuels. Let's break down how sodium-ion fits into the U.S. game plan. 1. Strategic independence, breaking free from foreign lithium. America's been playing catch-up in the battery race for years. Right now, we import most of our lithium, cobalt, and nickel, often from countries with unstable governments or unfriendly trade policies. China dominates battery production, especially lithium-ion. They control over 60% of global lithium refining, nearly 80% of battery-grade graphite, and most of the supply chain for EV batteries. That's a dangerous position to be in. Sodium flips the script. The US has plenty of sodium. It's literally in salt mines, soda ash, and even seawater. We don't need cobalt or nickel, and the raw materials are already being mined and processed in states like Wyoming, Utah, and California. Bottom line, sodium gives America a shot at battery independence without relying on rivals. 2. New U.S. startups betting big on sodium. Behind the scenes, a new wave of American startups is pushing sodium-ion to the forefront. Let's highlight a few names making big moves. Natron Energy, California. They're already producing sodium-ion batteries focused on data centers, telecom backups, and industrial power systems. Their edge? A Prussian blue chemistry that's non-toxic, fast-charging, and 100% US-made. They've built a manufacturing facility in Holland, Michigan, the heart of America's battery belt, with support from the Department of Energy. Aqueon Energy, formerly in Pennsylvania, pioneered early sodium-ion grid storage. While they hit some roadblocks, their legacy helped spark today's surge in sodium research. Form Energy, Massachusetts. While technically focused on iron-air batteries, Form's work underscores a larger trend. U.S. companies want alternatives to lithium, and sodium is right at the top of the list. And it's not just startups. Big names like KTAL, Faradion, and Reliance Industries are setting up partnerships and licensing deals to bring sodium-ion tech stateside. 3. Washington is all in, billions in backing. When the U.S. government throws weight behind a technology, pay attention. Because over the past 2 years, Washington has quietly, but aggressively, started backing sodium-ion. Under the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and the Inflation Reduction Act, billions of dollars are flowing into battery research, domestic mining, and clean energy manufacturing. And sodium is getting its slice. Programs like the DOE's Battery Materials Processing and Manufacturing Grant Program, the RPE Advanced Battery Research Initiative, tax credits for companies producing non-lithium batteries in the U.S. All of it adds up to one thing. Sodium-ion is now a national priority. 4. Why sodium makes sense for U.S. infrastructure. Here's something most people overlook. Not every battery needs to go in a car.
America needs batteries for solar farms in Arizona, wind turbines in Texas, backup power for hospitals, schools, and emergency shelters, microgrids for remote towns and military bases. Sodium is perfect for all of that. Safer, cheaper, no rare minerals, built from materials we already mine. And since these batteries are stationary, energy density isn't even a big concern. We don't care if the battery weighs 500 pounds, as long as it works and works for 10 years. That's where sodium shines. 5. A national security asset. Let's talk defense. The US military relies heavily on batteries for drones, radar systems, portable power, and communication. But lithium supply chains are risky. If there's a global conflict or trade war, our access to critical battery materials could vanish overnight. With sodium, the Pentagon sees a way out. In fact, DARPA and other defense agencies are actively exploring military-grade sodium-ion tech that can survive extreme temperatures, charge rapidly in the field, and be sourced entirely from the US. That's not just a win for soldiers, that's a win for national security. 7. The EV revolution gets a boost. Last but not least, sodium-ion makes electric vehicles cheaper. For years, EV critics have said they're too expensive. Normal people can't afford them, and they've been right. But sodium-ion changes that. It brings us closer to the Holy Grail, a safe, reliable, made-in-America EV that costs $25,000 or less. No rare minerals, no overseas dependencies, just clean, cheap energy built in the USA. And that's the kind of car that changes everything.
We've talked tech, we've talked strategy. Now let's talk reality. Who's actually building sodium-ion batteries? Where are these things being made? And will you be seeing them in a car, a scooter, or a toaster sometime soon? Let's get into it. 1. Meet the global giants betting big on sodium. Sodium might sound new, but behind the curtain, some of the biggest players in the world are all in. Battery, CATL, China. This is the heavyweight. CATL isn't just the largest battery maker on Earth, they're also the first to commercially ship sodium-ion EV batteries. In 2023, CATL launched a sodium-ion battery capable of 160 watt-hour per kilogram, with fast charging, 0 to 80% in 15 minutes, and temperature resilience down to -20 degrees Celsius, -4 degrees Fahrenheit. They're already integrating it into electric microcars and hybrid packs, combining sodium and lithium cells for the best of both worlds. And guess what? They're now working with car brands in Europe and Southeast Asia. It's only a matter of time before they look west. Battery. Faradon, UK, plus Reliance Industries, India. Faradon was one of the early pioneers, and in 2021, they were acquired by India's oil and energy giant Reliance. This move fast-tracked sodium-ion development in South Asia. Reliance is building massive battery gigafactories, a dedicated sodium-ion R&D hub, plans for EV integration by 2026. Their tech claims similar energy density to lithium iron phosphate, LFP, with even lower costs. Battery. Hainat Battery, China. One of the first to roll out a commercial sodium-ion EV, the Seahole E10X, in 2023. Yes, it's a compact car with modest specs, but it proved one thing: sodium works, and it works today. 2. But what about America? Who's leading here? Right now, the US isn't the loudest voice in the sodium game, but that's changing fast. Here's who's putting in the work. Natron Energy, California and Michigan. Natron is the US leader, hands down. They're producing Prussian blue sodium-ion cells, targeting data centers, EV charging stations, and industrial power. And they're building the first commercial sodium-ion battery factory in the US. And here's the kicker. Their facility is repurposing an old lithium-ion plant in Holland, Michigan, breathing new life into American manufacturing. Other U.S. players are emerging too. Tiamat Energy is setting up sodium production in the EU and could partner with U.S. firms. EnergyX and Form Energy, while focused on other chemistries, are pushing for domestic battery independence, and that opens the door for sodium. 3. The first places you'll see sodium, not cars, yet. Here's the truth. You probably won't see sodium in a Tesla tomorrow, but you will see it in places that matter. AK, stationary storage, solar farms and wind farms, grid-scale backup systems, community microgrids. This is already happening. California and Texas are investing in sodium-backed renewables that store energy when the sun goes down. E-bikes and e-scooters. Smaller vehicles don't need massive battery packs, and sodium is perfect for short-range urban commuting, low-cost production, and cold weather performance. India and China are already moving this way, and the US market isn't far behind. Consumer electronics. Think power tools, laptops, emergency backup units. Devices that need safe, stable power but don't require ultra-high energy density. 4. Tesla's $25,000 car, will sodium be inside? Let's address the elephant in the room. Could Tesla use sodium in their upcoming $25K compact EV? Here's what we know. Tesla is aggressively cutting battery costs. They're already using LFP, lithium iron phosphate, in many of their cheaper models. And Elon Musk has hinted at next-gen battery chemistry for upcoming vehicles. Now, LFP is great, but sodium is even cheaper and safer. Plus, Tesla is expanding its U.S. manufacturing footprint, a new gigafactory in Mexico, expansion in Texas, and efforts to source materials domestically. So here's the scenario. If sodium-ion batteries prove scalable, reliable, and affordable, there's every reason to believe Tesla, or its competitors, could adopt them for their entry-level vehicles. We're not there yet, but it's coming faster than anyone expected. 5. A domino effect across the industry. Once a major car brand adopts sodium, even in a hybrid configuration, expect a domino effect. Smaller automakers will follow. Suppliers will shift to sodium-compatible designs, and battery startups will explode with demand. Legacy manufacturers will race to integrate it in their entry-level EVs. This is how revolutions happen. Quietly, then all at once. 6. U.S. gigafactories, where sodium will be built. As demand grows, America is already laying the groundwork. Michigan, Natron's new facility. Potential partnerships with Ford and Rivian. Nevada and Arizona, states with large-scale solar deployment need grid batteries. Sodium makes sense here. Texas, Tesla's gigafactory may incorporate next-gen battery lines. The state's deregulated energy market could support sodium-backed microgrids. The vision? Gigafactories across the U.S. churning out low-cost, safe batteries for every part of the clean energy economy.
We've seen the factories, we've met the players. Now let's talk about what really matters: performance. Because it doesn't matter how cheap or sustainable a battery is if it can't deliver when it counts. So how does sodium-ion measure up against lithium-ion in the real world? Let's break it down. 1. Energy density. Still a gap, but closing fast. This is the headline spec. Energy density is how much juice you can pack into a given weight. And for years, lithium has been the clear winner. A Julian emoji on the left, lithium-ion. 250 to 300 watt-hours per kilogram for high-end NMC cells. 160 to 180 watt-hours per kilogram for LFP cells. A Julian emoji on the right, sodium-ion. As of 2025, 140 to 160 watt-hours per kilogram. Some experimental cells reaching 180 watt-hours per kilogram.
So yes, lithium still holds the crown, especially for premium EVs where range is king. But let's not forget, LFP, used in Tesla's base models, is only around 160 watt-hours per kilogram, and sodium is already matching that. That means sodium is now a direct competitor to the cheapest, safest lithium cells on the market, and that's huge. 2. Charging speed, surprisingly competitive. You'd expect a newer chemistry to lag behind in fast charging, but sodium's ion mobility, how quickly sodium ions move through the electrolyte, is actually quite strong. CATL sodium pack, 0 to 80% in just 15 minutes. That rivals some of the fastest LFP cells today. Plus, sodium doesn't degrade as aggressively at high charge rates. That means longer battery life even under daily fast charging. For everyday EV drivers, that's a major win. 3. Cold weather performance. Sodium wins here. Ask any EV owner in Minnesota, Canada, or Alaska, batteries hate the cold. Lithium-ion slows down dramatically below freezing. Range drops, charging gets sluggish, and performance takes a hit. But sodium, it handles low temps like a champ. Sodium-ion advantages. Operates reliably at -20 degrees C, -4 F. No need for expensive thermal management systems. Maintains charging ability in freezing temps. That's why countries like Norway, Canada, and northern US states are watching this tech closely. Sodium might just be the battery that makes cold climate EVs practical year-round. 5. Lifespan. Holding up strong. Let's talk about cycles. A cycle is one full charge and discharge. More cycles means longer lifespan. Undo leaking recycle symbol. LFP lithium. 2,000 to 3,000 cycles. Good. Up to 5,000 cycles with newer chemistries. A Doolean emoji on the right. Sodium ion. 2025 data. 1,500 to 3,000 cycles, depending on design. So far, sodium is competitive, especially with the Prussian blue-style cathodes that emphasize long life. And unlike cobalt-based lithium cells, sodium doesn't suffer from thermal runaway or volatile degradation. It just works over and over again. 6. Safety. Sodium-ion batteries have a clear edge. Sodium-ion batteries are non-flammable, don't use cobalt or nickel, are less prone to thermal runaway, don't require pressurized packaging. Translation: no explosions, no runaway fires, no need for complex safety layers. That's a dream for grid storage, home batteries, and even passenger EVs, especially with rising safety regulations in the US and Europe. 7. Cost, the killer advantage. Now for the number everyone wants to hear. How much cheaper is sodium? Right now, lithium prices are still volatile, and cobalt and nickel prices are through the roof. Add in supply chain chaos, and the cost per kilowatt hour just keeps fluctuating. $, sodium ion. 2025 estimates. Around 30% cheaper per kilowatt hour than LFP. Potential for $40 to $60 per kilowatt hour at scale. Raw materials are cheap, abundant, and mostly domestic. As production ramps up, sodium could drive EV battery prices below $100 per kilowatt hour, a key benchmark for mass market affordability. 8. Environmental impact. It's not even close. Lithium mining is a dirty business. From water depletion in South America's salt flats to child labor in cobalt mines, the ethical and environmental costs are piling up. Sodium flips the script. Earth globe emoji. Why sodium is cleaner. Sourced from common salt and abundant minerals. No cobalt, no nickel, no rare earths. Easy recycling potential. Compatible with low-carbon manufacturing processes. This makes sodium the battery chemistry of choice for sustainable energy policies, especially in places like California, Scandinavia, and the EU. 7. Who wins? It depends on the use case. Energy density. Winner, lithium ion. For now. Lithium-ion batteries still have the upper hand when it comes to energy density. They can store more energy in a smaller, lighter package, making them ideal for devices and vehicles where size and weight matter. While sodium-ion technology is improving, it hasn't yet matched lithium-ion in this area. Cold weather performance. Winner, sodium-ion. When it comes to operating in cold temperatures, sodium-ion batteries are the clear winner. They maintain performance even in freezing conditions, unlike lithium-ion batteries which tend to lose efficiency and capacity in cold environments. Charging speed. Tie. Both lithium-ion and sodium-ion batteries can achieve fast charging speeds, especially when paired with the right charging infrastructure. There's no clear winner here, as both technologies offer comparable performance in this category. Safety. Winner, sodium-ion. Sodium-ion batteries offer superior safety. Their chemistry is more stable and less prone to overheating or catching fire, even when damaged or under stress. Lithium-ion batteries, while generally safe, still carry some risk of thermal runaway and combustion. Lifespan. Tie. In terms of lifespan, both battery types are quite similar. They can handle a large number of charge and discharge cycles before showing signs of degradation. As of now, there's no definitive winner in long-term durability. Cost. Winner, sodium-ion. Sodium-ion batteries are significantly cheaper to produce. They rely on sodium, which is widely available and much less expensive than lithium. This cost advantage makes sodium-ion a strong candidate for mass-market applications, including affordable electric vehicles and large-scale energy storage.
If you're building a luxury EV that needs 500+ miles of range, lithium still rules. But if you want a 25K car with 200 miles of range, a safe battery for your rooftop solar, a grid system that won't catch fire, a cold climate EV that doesn't freeze up, sodium is the smarter choice. And as energy density catches up, which it will, lithium will slowly start to lose its edge. All right, we've seen the science, the performance, and the big players. Now it's time for the most important question of all. When will I actually see a sodium-ion battery in real life? Not in a lab, not in a press release, but in your driveway, in your home, or powering your grid. Let's break it down year by year, starting right now. 2024 to 2025. The first real deployments begin. We're already in the game. CATL, China, rolled out first-generation sodium-ion cells in 2023, now entering mass production in 2025. Target low-cost EVs and energy storage. Their battery packs already feature a hybrid design, half sodium, half lithium, blending performance and cost. These are now hitting small EVs, scooters, and microcars in China and Southeast Asia. But the real excitement? CATL's dedicated sodium packs launching by late 2025. BYD, China's EV giant, has a sodium-powered sub-brand launching in 2025. Codename Seagull E. Price tag? Around 11,000 USD. Range? Around 190 miles. It's not a Tesla Model S, but it's the perfect city car, and it could redefine the low-cost EV space. If this lands in Latin America, Southeast Asia, or Eastern Europe, sodium could explode in popularity fast. Haina Battery, China, partnered with Chery Auto to develop a fully sodium-powered vehicle. First demo cars hit the road in mid-2024. Commercial rollout, late 2025. Chery's plan? Scale this into export markets by 2026, including Europe. Faradion, UK and India. Owned by Reliance Industries, one of India's biggest players. Sodium battery production lines built in India and the UK, targeting electric rickshaws, small delivery vans, and grid storage. With India's push for clean transportation, sodium could dominate the sub-$10,000 EV segment within 2 to 3 years. 2026 to 2028. Scaling up in global markets.
This is when it starts to get serious, especially in the US and Europe. Natron Energy, California. Sodium-ion cells built around Prussian blue chemistry, safer than lithium and longer lasting. Target market? Data centers, grid storage, and UPS systems. Mass production begins in 2025, scaling in 2026. Natron is also working with Clarios, a major US battery supplier, to adapt sodium batteries for automotive support systems, like 12-volt backup. First vehicle integrations could appear as early as 2026. Ultras, Sweden, and Northvolt, building massive sodium battery lines in Europe, backed by EU funding for green energy resilience. Grid deployment planned by 2026. Automotive-grade cells expected by 2027. This aligns perfectly with Europe's push to cut dependence on China and move away from lithium geopolitics. Sodium gives them an out, and they're taking it. Tesla, wildcard. Here's the thing. Tesla hasn't announced anything sodium-related, but they already use LFP in many models. They're obsessed with cost per kilowatt hour, and they're known to move fast when tech becomes viable. So if sodium proves cheaper and safer than LFP, don't be surprised if Tesla quietly partners with CATL or launches its own sodium project. Best guess? We might see sodium in the $25,000 Tesla EV by 2027 or 2028. Beyond 2028, widespread adoption across segments. Here's what the future looks like. Grid storage. Sodium dominates thanks to low cost, high safety, and no rare materials. By 2030, sodium could supply 30 to 50% of the stationary storage market, ideal for solar and wind buffering, home batteries, and microgrids. Low-cost EVs. Sodium powers the global $10,000 to $25,000 EV segment. That means cars for cities, deliveries, first-time buyers. China, India, South America, and Africa will all embrace sodium-first cars. Residential storage. Think of a solar plus battery setup in your garage. Sodium offers better cold weather performance and lower risk. Could replace Tesla Powerwalls in colder regions. Industrial and niche vehicles. Forklifts, e-bikes, off-grid tools, small drones, all powered by sodium for reliability and cost savings. And as energy density climbs, sodium may eventually move into mid-range EVs, larger trucks, and hybrid designs that blend the best of both sodium and lithium. The tipping point, 2027. All signs point to 2027 as the year sodium goes from promising to mainstream. Here's why. Production scales in China, India, EU, and the US. EVs with sodium hit global showrooms. Grid providers choose sodium for low-risk deployments. Cost drops to $50 per kilowatt hour. New chemistries push energy density to 190 to 200 watt-hours per kilogram. At that point, it's game over for high-cost lithium in entry-level segments. Sodium becomes the default battery for affordable EVs, stationary storage, cold weather applications, and countries without lithium resources. Final thought, sodium isn't the enemy, it's the answer. This isn't about sodium replacing lithium across the board, it's about filling the gaps. Lithium powers the long-range, high-performance frontier. Sodium powers the affordable, scalable, everyday revolution. And when they work together, the energy transition doesn't just accelerate, it becomes accessible for everyone.
Let's cut to it. This isn't just about chemistry, kilowatt hours, or supply chains. This is about power, literally. Who controls it, who can afford it, and whether the clean energy future actually works for everyone, not just the rich. And sodium-ion batteries? They might just be the equalizer. The real problem with lithium. For the past decade, lithium has been the king of batteries. And for good reason. High energy density, fast charging, long lifespan. But it's also got some major baggage. World emoji, scarcity and geography. Lithium is concentrated in a few countries: Chile, China, Australia. That creates geopolitical risk and supply instability. Money bag emoji, cost volatility. Lithium prices spike like crazy. In 2022, lithium carbonate hit $85,000 per ton. EV prices followed suit, wiping out affordability gains. Fire emoji, fire risk. Lithium-ion batteries are flammable, especially under extreme conditions. Thermal runaway has caused EV and e-bike fires around the world. Tools emoji, recycling and extraction. Lithium mining is resource-intensive. Recycling is possible, but expensive. And in the US, it's barely scaled. This is why sodium has the industry buzzing. It's not perfect, but it sidesteps many of these landmines. Salt shaker emoji. Sodium, the underdog that makes sense. Sodium's big selling point? It's everywhere. It's the sixth most abundant element on Earth. You could dig some up from seawater. There's no shortage, no cartel, no choke point. And while it lags lithium in pure energy density, sodium wins in areas that really matter. Cost, cold weather performance, safety, scalability. That's why automakers, battery startups, and even utilities are racing to integrate it. Because when you're trying to electrify everything, from scooters to school buses to entire power grids, you can't afford to put all your ions in one basket. Car emoji. What this means for Tesla, Ford, and the EV world. Let's be real. Sodium isn't about building the next Tesla Roadster. It's about building the next billion EVs. Finish sign emoji. Tesla. If they embrace sodium for the $25,000 EV, they stay dominant. If not, they risk getting undercut in the global mass market. Ford. Ford and GM have massive lithium investments, but sodium could help them scale fleet vehicles and entry-level models. They'll need flexible battery strategies to compete globally. Chinese automakers, BYD and Chery. They're already ahead in sodium tech. They're already deploying sodium-powered cars. They could flood international markets with ultra-cheap, sodium-based EVs by 2026. This isn't just about battery chemistry, it's geoeconomic warfare. And the companies that adapt early will dominate the next energy wave. Brain emoji. What this means for you. You're probably wondering, okay, great, but what does this mean for me? Here's what's coming your way. Checkmark emoji. EVs that cost less and actually make sense. A sodium-powered EV could cost $5,000 to $10,000 less than a lithium one. That's a game changer for first-time buyers, students, and retirees. These cars are simpler, safer, and perfect for daily city driving. Checkmark emoji. Home batteries that don't explode. Imagine pairing your solar roof with a battery that works in the cold. Won't catch fire, doesn't cost $12,000 to install. Sodium gives you a safe, affordable option to go off-grid. Checkmark emoji. Freedom from lithium supply shocks. Less dependency on rare materials, less price volatility. That means more stable EV pricing in the years ahead. Checkmark emoji. A faster, fairer energy transition. Developing countries can skip lithium entirely. Rural areas can deploy sodium grid batteries. Energy poverty could shrink, not expand, in the clean energy future. This is how you decentralize power, literally and economically. Globe emoji. The big picture. This is a battery revolution. Every major technology shift in history was built on one thing: energy. And batteries are the foundation of the 21st century. But up until now, they've been too expensive, too scarce,
too risky to scale for everyone. Sodium fixes that. It's not a magic bullet, but it's the most practical, sustainable, and inclusive path we've got right now. And when you combine it with wind, solar, AI-driven grids, and smart vehicles, you get a future that's not just electric, it's resilient, affordable, and available to everyone. Crystal ball emoji. What's next on Electric Mind? In our next series, we'll explore the return of solid-state batteries, hype or hope, why Tesla's secret weapon might be power electronics, not batteries, and how America can win the EV race without owning the lithium game. If you found this series eye-opening, make sure to subscribe to Electric Mind, where we break down the future of energy, tech, and transportation, one bold idea at a time. Thanks for watching.